Hello everyone, StarTros here bringing you another video for FFBE JP, new update review. Basically, we're getting a new update now, and as most mid-month patches, I would say, yeah, we're pretty much mid-month. We're getting another collaboration, this time with War of the Visions, so I can hear Maxi somewhere in a corner celebrating, alone on his hill. So the first character we're getting this week is Ashen King Mont, who is a DPS unit. His categories are Dark, Fire, Ice, and Earth. We've seen a few characters with Earth last week as well, so I'm wondering if they're not trying to push Earth a little bit more to the front of the stage. We'll see. Also, of course, Another World, FFBE, War of the Vision, Blessings of the Crystals, Royal Arms, Harbinger of Chaos. I'm not very good with the lore in War of the Visions, so I thought he was the main character. Maybe he's also a bad guy, who knows. Elite Soldiers, Sword Masters, and Transcendent, and I can already hear Maxi in the comments telling me all about it, so we'll see when when the video goes live. His TMR is just a materia that you're never going to use, with 50% attack, 30% HP, and then 50% fire and dark resist, which I guess it's not too bad for the fire and dark resist, but other than that, meh. His STMR is a light armor with 163 attack, so not the best in the meta, but still pretty good. 76 defense and 49 spirit. Also gives 50% human and dragon killer, so that is pretty good. And of course, the flat stats for Mont. His vision card is, the collab vision card, so it's between the premium ones and the bad ones. So 150 base stats, and the rest is just the usual. So not really something you're going to be using, unless you're starting. This is the best card you have. His EX3 ability is a 50% overkiller for dragons. Like we're looping more into more and more overkiller for races that we already have. Maybe eventually you're going to start, finding new stuff or giving more than 50%. We'll see when the meta pushes. He also has an accessory that you can go and craft from a mission. The accessory is a 97 attack, 51 defense, and 32 spirit accessory with 30% HP and also 50% human killer and some flat stats for him. So that will be one of the quests that you can do once the game goes live. Then for his kit at EX1, he is going to get only the 500% LB damage buff, sorry. At EX2, he gets the 300% amplify for fire, earth, and dark. As you can see, there is one element missing. So there's no ice, it's only fire, earth, and dark. And he also gets the 250% imperil for fire and earth, so dark gets dropped. As usual, they make like lots of elements, but not full coverage for them all. So business as usual. The rest of his kit, he does have LB fill on most of his moves, which is pretty nice. So he can use his LB, and then another turn he can refill his LB like on his own. He doesn't really need help. He has a field with a lot of elements. This is an amplify field for fire, ice, earth, and dark. Unfortunately, it's only 70%, it's not 100, so you're probably not going to be using this unless you're using a really wide variety of elements with your team. He also has a 600% stat buff for himself and a friend. We're going to come back to his chaining ability a little later. He has on a two-turn cooldown, 150% amplify to all his elements for himself, 400% stat buff for himself, and a modifier buff for his chaining ability. Also a 60% imperil on another cooldown. This is a 10-turn cooldown, unfortunately, but this is 60% sword imperil, 200% omni killer on himself, and also another modifier buff for his chaining ability. He also has another cooldown with a 50% sword imperil instead of 60, so once this is lapsed, you can use this to keep going. Also an imperil to all his elements by 180%. So not bad. This is still quite high anyway, but not the full meta thing. He has the usual imbues, He has some healing for himself. That's actually pretty good because there's 500 MP refill there at a cost of 150, so that's 350 effective MP you're getting. He also has a barrier and mitigation. So that's general mitigation by 80% for 3 turns to everyone, and 30k HP barrier. That's very good. That's on a 4-turn cooldown, so you would have 1 turn off of the 1 turn off of the mitigation. Wow. I'll make it. He also has on-demand AoE perfect dispel, which is amazing. On-demand AoE, really, really good. And last but not least, he has also an imperil field for all his elements by 75%. So I'm pretty sure he is the first one with 4 elements in a 75% imperil field. So that's really good. Well, then again, I mean, Earth is so irrelevant that, and so is Ice. So you got Fire and Dark, and the others might be used. In terms of the rest of his kit in the passives, you see that at EX2 he's going to get more modifiers for his chaining ability. So if we go back to looks, that's 1300 here. That's 4,000 and 7,400, so that's 87, 12,007. So it's 15,700 times modifier, which is actually a lot higher than the other chaining abilities we've had before. I think they're trying to push a little bit more the damage for the chaining abilities as opposed to the LB. If say you're not using what's her name, Kukuri, with the extra LB damage field, and Vivi as well has it. So this probably like pushes them a little higher for a lot of damage when you don't have that super good field for the LB damage. The rest of the passives, nothing really worth mentioning, except he's a boost. Yeah, he's a boost unit, so he's got a boost skill that will refill his LB gauge on every turn for the first 3 turns of the battle. So he doesn't need like any ability for EX2 for the LB fill. He gets that from the boost skill. Otherwise, he's got 1 stack of guts, which is nice, and the rest is the usual LB stuff. He has a leader skill. His leader skill is 1700 percent buff to elite soldiers and fire. Once again, let's remember that it is for and, so elite soldiers and fire allies will get 1700. The others who are just elite soldiers will get 1500. He also has 2 overdrives. It's a little bit more in line with what we've seen last week. So exactly the same overdrive for 2 different categories. So he has a 300% stat buff, 30% category buff, and 200% LB damage buff to elite soldiers, and another one for sword masters. So those are okay to overlap. There's no field, so you don't need to think, oh, I need to do this one first and then that one after. A little easier to use, so that's great. And then his LB is one of those multi-element LBs, so you can choose whichever element you want. And the full modifier is the usual classic. They're not pushing the envelope. It's 1725. But what is worth mentioning on it, though, is, you know, there's a little bit of a break and imperil for the element you're using. But most importantly, you also decrease the cooldown for all his abilities by 2 every time you cast his LB. Let's see. He doesn't have an SLB. So every time you cast his LB, you got this, which is extremely nice, because that can allow him to recast some of his support stuff a little faster. For example, that mitigation stuff for 80% general mitigation, really good. So that's it for Mont. Now if we go look at the next unit, we get another global unit that is being ported over to JP. So we got, I think it's Richt is how they wanted us to pronounce it, because you see here they went for Richito. So Richt is probably how they want us to pronounce it. I don't remember how they pronounced it in the video for the GL announcement. Anywho, so his categories are a little different than what I expected. He's got light, which was expected, ice, lightning, and earth. I was expecting wind here because on global he was using wind element as well. But but you know, not a big deal. It would have fit because wind is pretty good right now, but they were really pushing for earth. So he's got Blessing of the Crystals, Gathering, Guardians, Elite Soldiers, Saviors, Swordmasters, and Transcendent. That is a pretty good coverage for categories, I will say, so I'm pretty happy with it. His elements might be a little different, a little harder to use, because, you know, you got Ice and Earth, which aren't that great, but Light and Lightning are pretty good. In terms of TMR, his TMR is an accessory, 81 attack, some defensive stats, and 50% Demon Killer. And his STMR is a sword with 252 attack and also 75% Demon and Stone Killer. So when you have both of his things equipped, demons are going to be taking a beating, even though Demon is probably the easiest one to gear for. You get more coverage for it. The Vision card is, just like the other one for Mont. So 150, and then the rest is the same, other than only getting 25% LB damage instead of 50, which is pretty bad. So once again, you're never going to be using this. His EX3 ability is Demon, 50% Demon Overkiller, so kind of expected with all the Demon Killer he has. Now if we go look at the kit, he is a Brave Shift unit, well, a trans shift unit, so he can stay only in the shift form for a certain amount of turns, a little bit like Hyo that we had a couple of months ago. I think they kind of had inspiration from him for a couple of things in his kit. We'll look at that in a second. So in his base form, although most of these are going to be the same in both forms, at EX1 he's getting both the 500% LB damage buff, but also a 200% imperil for Ice, Lightning, and Light. So Earth is already pushed right out the window. And at EX2 he is going to get a 300% amplify for himself for Ice, Lightning, and Light. So once again, Earth, we don't care. So the same elements are covered at least by both, but this is a smaller imperil. In terms of the rest of the kit, he has a 2-stack evade for everyone, which is nice. He can break defense and spirit by 85% on demand if ever you don't already have someone that can do better on demand. He can imperil his elements 130, but that's not great. We're going to come back to this in a second. He can imbue his elements. He has here, wait, am I in the base form? I was in the Brave Shift. Yeah, I was in Brave Shift, sorry. So let's go back to base form. So in his base form, he also has some buffing. So an AoE 500% stat buff on top of a 400% LB damage buff. So that's pretty good on a single ability, I will say. So it's very good, you know, when the initial burst has been done, to go for another burst. That's only a 3-turn duration, but that's pretty good still to keep going. He also has a 3-turn cooldown, a attack and magic break resistance for everyone, and also 20 LB fill for everyone, which actually works well with the rest of his kit. We're going to look at it in a second. He also has a field. This is a dual field, so be careful when you use it. So it's a 100% lightning and light amplify field. So as you see, Ice and Earth pushed right out the window once more. At least Ice is supported by the amplify and imperils he has, but not for this. And also it's a 50% imperil for lightning and light. So when you're going to be using this, you probably want to use this first so that the imperil field gets replaced by a better imperil field once you apply a second one, either light or lightning, when you have somebody else to apply field in the team. If we go look at his passives in base form still, does he have anything worth mentioning? He doesn't really have anything worth mentioning in base form in terms of passives. He gets the usual stuff for the LB damage. He has a leader skill at 1700% for sword masters and light, and if they're just sword masters, it's 1500. So that's probably pretty good still. I'm just not sure how many sword masters we have that are meta right now that are light, but feel free to prove me wrong in the comments. Anyway, we got that. His LB, it's actually pretty good. It's a little bit of break, a little bit of accuracy reduction for what it's worth. And then it is also a 3-stack evade for the entire team, 100% light resist, and also, well, that's 1625. Yes, a 1625, so that's not that good. But that's only the base form, it's only a 5 hit. Where the real damage is actually in the shift form. So we're gonna go look at the shift form right now. So shift form, all the same for the beginning, you know, all the flavor things, the Mirage, yay, thank you. The chaining ability comes alive here in the shift form. So we have a 4500 base modifier, to which we can add, well, yeah, I'm gonna skip this one for now. So he has a quint cast, which says unique selection only. So you can only select one move, a move once, a little bit like Regina or who else does that? Well, I kind of forgot, but you know, Regina style. So he can get modifier buffs for his big chaining ability. So we got here 2750, so that's, you know, 4 abilities with 2750, which is basically 11,000. Does he have anything else for it? I don't think so. No, okay. So it's 11,000 plus 4,500. So that's 15,500 modifier for his chaining ability. Well, I say chaining, unfortunately it's not a chaining ability, it's only a 5, but capping ability, let's go with that. So it's pretty good, but once again, not chaining. I caught that before the video ended. If we look at the rest of his kit, here is something that is extremely good. Keep in mind that this is only in his shift form, and the shift form is trance shift, so you cannot come back to it right away. There's a cooldown, so before you can go back to it, you'll need to wait 3 turns. But you do get a 60% all weapon imperil. It is literally all weapon. I think, yeah, I don't think they skipped any this time, because, you know, even axe and hammer are here. Those whips and maces, those things that are never used, they're here in the imperil. In those buff abilities he is using for his big finisher, there's also a 50% sword imperil on it. That doesn't really matter. 89% defense and spirit break, which is pretty nice. 200% demon and human killer for himself, along with some mitigation for those races as well. Well, 50% is actually pretty good. Also 600% attack, magic, defense, and spirit buffs spread on those two. 150 amplify for all his elements, and also 100% resist to ice, wind, earth, and light. So pretty stacked. Oh, and also 50% general mitigation, but only for him. So pretty stacked in terms of selfish support. But that's, you know, that's pretty good. I like these things because you're gonna be using them to buff his ability anyway. So it's a lot of little perks you get along the way. This also fills his LB gauge back to full. And unless I'm mistaken, since this is all for 2 turns, if you do the quint cast and then you finish it with this, you can use that on a second turn. So it could be 2 turns of 15,500 times modifier, and then you could just, you know, go with the LB after that, because it's a 4-turn duration for his thing. So you could do one small setup turn, then the big setup turn, and then let it all go, let it all rip, and finish with the LB. In this form, he does have a passive ability, something that will be cast every turn, which is right here. And that's why I said it was kind of inspired by Hyo, because also Hyo in the shift form has something like this that is cast every turn. So it's a perfect dispel that happens just basic at the beginning of all of his turns. Also gives 2-stack Mirage to the entire team, fills the LB gauge by 30 to the entire team, gives him a 5-stack Mirage, and also decrease all his cooldowns by 2. by 2 turns. So very good there. Once again, only during the shift form. So that's something that's only going to happen for 3 turns in a row, and then you have to wait 3 more turns before you can have it again if the fight goes longer for any reason. But that is pretty good, honestly. I really like that. Those autocast things that Hyo had and that he has are really good, especially for the LB fill. If you have tons of drive shift units, overdrive units, sorry, they're going to be easy to refill with this, because he also has oh, that was only in base form, was it? Never mind. I was about to mention that he also had the that ability for a this one, for a 20 LB fill for the entire team, but unfortunately it's only in base form, so never mind, no synergy there. But still, 30 per turn, very good. In terms of his LB in the shift form is multi-element. So you pick the element, you know the drift by now. What's good with it is it's a 90% defense and spirit break when you're using it, so before the damage. Also 180 imperil for the used element, which is pretty good. It's an AMOE chain. Also refills 1000 MP to him. Pretty nice on the LB when you're going to get mana drained, I would think. And lastly, his modifier is, the same as everyone right now, so 1725. So overall, pretty good unit. I like him. I think I'm gonna pull for him and see where that leads me. Probably pockets empty and no Richt. We'll see when I pull. Because I haven't been very lucky lately. I haven't gotten any units I've been pulling for. But yeah, I think he's pretty good. If I had to suggest one between the both, I would pick him. Although Mont also is pretty nice for the 80% mitigation you can get to everyone. Anyway, so I'll leave it up to you to choose what you want to be pulling for. We got Lucio, Light of Brilliance here, that is getting crowns. His crowns are pretty simple. It's one of those, it's just the passive. Let's get here. So it's just maybe more stats, I'm not even sure, but this is the important part. So the auto cast here ability, we're gonna go look at what it is. So the auto cast ability is a 700 times modifier buff for his LB, and on top of which we can add that one, so it's 800, so 920 with the cooldown buff. Yeah, here. So 920 that we add to his LB modifier. So that would make him, wow, that would actually make him the very highest modifier never mind. We have Papua at 2000. But still a very high modifier at 1790. Yeah, 1790. So pretty good actually, just for crowns. And I think he was still used by some people sometimes for his breaks and fields when we needed like royal teams. Because on royal teams he has some overdrive he can use. He still has a pretty good field. He can amplify and break. He can imbue and break. He's a pretty good unit still. So nice to see he's getting crowns. Now in terms of events, in terms of events, what we're getting is, I forgot to zoom. So we get one story event for Richt here. So white light, dark light, black light, sorry. So that's a Richt story event, probably fighting against Ethne, was that her name? I think so. Another story event, Fundamental Forces for Elena, might be actually Fundamental Forces, like the unit themselves. I don't know if that's what GL had, that story event, because they were both released at the same. No, never mind, they weren't. She was released a lot later, but it might just be Elena. I can't remember. Anyway, 2 story events we're getting at the same time. Is this foreshadowing we might be getting the unit Fundamental Force for Anniversary? Only time will tell. Now, other events. This is a reprint. I don't remember that we had that, but apparently we did. So this is a serial, a Mod King, so just a series event. with a box. So if you haven't done this one, go and farm it. If you have, you can just ignore it. This is the real one we're getting, so collaboration event. So this is another box event for War of the Visions. So you get your lapis at 100,000, but you get the full rewards and everything at 300,000, and you empty the boxes at like 500,000 if you're unlucky. So you know the drift, just go and farm some more. There is the crown event here, the crown fight for Lucio. It says that Guardians and Harbinger of Chaos units are getting buffs in here. So we'll see, that might be the category they'll, or one or two of the categories they're going to ask us to use. Also, we are getting the weapon. So this is the accessory for Ashen King Mont. Also another reprint here for War of the Visions. So if you hadn't, I think that was the event for Lucio. So if you weren't playing back then time for you to go and farm this one as well. So there's a lot of farming. You're gonna if you haven't, like, if you're a new player, you have 3 different events that you need to farm with your energy. So good luck doing that. Use your use your stamina potions and you'll make it through. I don't think this one was as heavy in terms of the box contents, because back then they were still good guys, or good guys, air quotes. And last but not least, this is probably not happening just yet, but this is, you know, the half anniversary, go beat up a Moogle and get some lapis that you can do on a daily basis. So that's probably not happening just now, but that will be releasing in the next couple weeks when anniversary starts. But if it starts right now, yay, marvelous, I'm happy we're getting it. If not, you know, just patiently wait until it drops. Other than that, maybe worth mentioning, I didn't pull any images for that, but I saw that there was a rerun for Cecil's banner, Golbez, and Sephiroth. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's it. Just give me a second if I go look. My goodness, there's a lot of things actually coming in. So yeah, Sephiroth, Golbez, and Cecil are being rerun. So if you still wanted to pull for them, you haven't finished a step up or something, by all means go and try to get them. Hopefully you'll be more lucky this time. They're still very good units, they're still very recent. Sephiroth is a little older, but still very good anyway. Especially for that 91% break that only Zidane was lucky enough to get. So good luck on your pulls if you decide to pull. Happy hoarding if you keep hoarding for a little later. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!